Don't worry about me, Sally, I'm fine. Really? I put the phone down on the desk. She worries too much. But she's my daughter and I know she loves me and wants me to be happy, but I wish she wouldn't keep calling me every other day and asking me if I'm eating right, if I'm getting enough sleep. I'm an almost 50-year-old man. I know how to take care of myself. Been doing that ever since I left home at 16. I know she has worried more since my wife died 5 years ago, but come on. I know I should tell her to back off, but I love her. They'll just let it slide for now. I had just checked into the Arlington Hotel in Charlotte, room 2116, my usual suite. I make this trip every month, a 2-hour drive from my house on a lake 20 miles away. I like the big city amenities such as fine dining and high-end stores, something I don't have near where I live. This is my monthly fun weekend. After checking in, I had asked Charles, the hotel concierge, to make dinner reservations at Upstream for 6:30 and for a limo to take me there and back. I had known Charles for 2 years, ever since I had been coming here. The hotel reserves the same suite for me the first Saturday of every month, and I know all the staff by their first names. It's like a home away from home. A knock at the door. I opened it and Charles was standing there. Come on in, Charles. Problem with my reservation? No, Mr. Johnston, everything is fine. It's a delicate matter, sir. Okay, Charles, we've known each other for a while now. What is it? Well, sir, you've been coming here for a while, and I know you told me you live alone, and I was wondering if you might like some female company for dinner. I mean, no one should eat alone, sir. That's very considerate of you, Charles. Do you have someone in mind? Well, not really, sir, but I have a good friend who runs an escort business, and I'm sure he could find someone who meets your tastes. I was a little taken aback for a moment. I had only dated a couple of women since my wife died, and they were women I had met socially in my hometown and were of my age. Interesting. Okay, Charles. Sounds interesting, so how does this work? Well, I give you the resumes of the young ladies with photos and such, and you let me know which one you would like to spend the day with, and I'll make the arrangements. And I assume there's a fee involved. Yes, sir. You let me have the fee, and I'll take care of the escort service, and whatever you want to give the young lady is entirely up to you. But if I may venture a suggestion, these are very nice, respectable young ladies, so I would suggest you not give them cash but maybe take them shopping or such. Thanks, Charles, I'll take your advice. This is the link to their website. He gave me a piece of the hotel's stationery with the URL written on it. Thanks for thinking of me, Charles. My pleasure, sir. He left. I booted up the hotel computer and entered the site address. Discreet Personal Services Incorporated, offering companionship to discerning people. I scrolled through the list of young women and good-looking men. There was a list on the left of the screen with boxes to check for personal preferences. I checked. Caucasian 18 to 29, college degree, blonde, petite, A cup 5 to 1, 5 to 5. I got a list of 4 young women. Claire, Caucasian, 19 years old, 5 to 4, graduate degree in fine arts, 34A-24-36. Blonde Zoe, Caucasian, 24 years old, 5 to 3, degree in structural engineering, 34A-25-36. Blonde Summer, Caucasian, 21 years old, 5 to 5, degree in English Lit, 36A-24-36. Blonde April, Caucasian, 24 years old, 5 to 3, degree in marketing, 33A-24-36. Blonde Zoe piqued my interest because I was a mechanical engineer before retiring at 48, and she was stunningly beautiful with long blonde hair tied with a black ribbon and fine, delicate facial features that reminded me of my daughter Anya. I clicked on her photo and was taken to her bio page. She had an impressive educational resume, but the photo of her in a bikini was the deciding factor. She was gorgeous with a perfect figure. The fee $1,500 for the day, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., and $750 for the evening, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. I called Charles on the house phone. Hello, this is Charles, your hotel concierge. How may I help you? Hey Charles, this is David Johnston. Yes, sir, what can I do for you? I've looked at the website you told me about, and if she's available, I'd like to have dinner with Zoe. Okay, sir. Let me make a phone call and I'll let you know. 10 minutes later, he called back. Yes, Mr. Johnston, Zoe is available this evening. He'll have our limo pick her up and bring her to the hotel. She'll meet you in the lobby at 6. Thanks, Charles. I showered and dressed in a blue button-down shirt, gray slacks, and a blue blazer. I took the elevator to the lobby. As the doors opened, I saw Zoe sitting on a sofa on the far side of the lobby. She wore dark blue sheath dress that accentuated her figure, stilettos, and carried a matching blue clutch. She was stunning. As I strode toward her, she stood up. "Hello, you must be David." She held out a delicate hand. I took it and kissed it. She seemed surprised by the gesture. "Nice to meet you, Zoe. You look beautiful." "Well, thank you." Charles came over. "Mr. Johnston, the limo is outside." "Thank you, Charles." I took Zoe's hand and we walked out and got in the waiting limousine. "I'm so glad you were free this evening, Zoe. I look forward to having dinner with you." "Me too, David." We arrived at Upstream and the driver opened the door for us. Inside the restaurant, we were seated at a booth and our server came to take our drinks order. It was Sarah who had served me on numerous occasions. "Well, hello, Mr. Johnston, nice to see you back again." "Thank you, Sarah. What would you like to drink, Zoe?" "Glass of Chardonnay, please." "Glass of Estancia for the young lady and my usual, please, Sarah." "So you're a structural engineer?" "Yes. I work for Strump and Davis Architects. Been there since I graduate from Clemson. Clemson has a fine engineering school. I went there myself, graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering in '88. Oh, what a coincidence, my father graduated that same year." "Oh my goodness, Zoe. You're making me feel old." She put her hand on mine. "Oh, I'm sorry, David, that was not very thoughtful of me." "That's okay, dear, I may be 50 this year, but I still think I'm 21. "What is your father's name?" "Tom Jameson." "Did you know him?" "Oh yes, vaguely, we took fluid dynamics." "How is Tom?" "He died 2 years ago." "I'm sorry to hear that, still so young." "Yes, he and I were very close. He was killed by a hit-and-run driver." "That's horrible." Sarah brought our drinks and we ordered dinner. After 2 hours of a wonderful, albeit technical conversation, I paid the check and we left in the limo for my hotel. "I've had the most wonderful evening, Zoe. You've been a delight to talk to. I come to Charlotte on the first Saturday of the month. Could you keep your calendar open for me?" "Certainly, David. Just let Charles know what time you would like to meet." "Could I have your phone number?" "Sorry, David, we aren't allowed to give that out. I hope you understand." "Of course, Zoe." I kissed her on her cheek and told the driver to take her home. My, what an interesting and beautiful young woman. The rest of the month seemed to drag by, and by the time the first Saturday of the next month came, I was ready for my date with Zoe. As soon as I go to the hotel, I asked Charles to make a reservation for 2 at Carpe Diem for 7, and to arrange for my limo driver to pick Zoe up at 6:30. I waited for the limousine in the lobby, and as soon as it arrived, I walked out. The driver opened the door and I got in. Zoe was wearing a black sleeveless halter dress that came down just below her knees. A string of pearls graced her slender neck. "Well, hello again, Zoe, so nice to see you." "Hi, David. Glad you asked me to keep an open slot in my calendar. I have been looking forward to this evening." That's interesting," I thought. She's actually looked forward to our date. "You look as beautiful as ever, Zoe. I love the dress, and that necklace is perfect for you. You have such beautiful skin. It almost looks like porcelain." "Thanks, I bought, if especially for this evening." She looked down as if a little embarrassed at being so personal with me. Our driver stopped outside the restaurant and I held her hand as she got out of the car. I kept a hold of it as we walked to our table. A waitress took our order for drinks. "So what have you been doing this past month?" "Oh, the usual working. We have a new project that I'm the lead on, my first." "Oh, that calls for a celebration." I called our waitress over. "Bring us a bottle of champagne, please." "Oh, that's not necessary, David." "Yes, it is, Zoe, a milestone in your young career. I wish I had been sitting across from a beautiful woman when I celebrated." Our waitress returned and popped the cork and poured us 2 flutes of champagne. "Hey, race to you, Zoe, and your big challenge." We drank the champagne and ordered dinner. In the limousine back at the hotel, Zoe gave me a piece of paper. "What's this, Zoe?" "My phone number." "But I thought you didn't give them out." "I quit the service 2 weeks ago." I'm confused. "If you quit the service, then how did Charles get in touch with you?" "I called and gave him the number." "Well, Zoe, I'm flattered beyond words that you wanted to go out on a date with me. By yourself." To be honest, I surprised myself. "I like you, David, I like you a lot." That also surprised. I mean, after 1 date. "But Zoe, I'm old enough to be your father." I know, and it doesn't bother me one iota. Driver, do you have a pen? He handed me a pen and I tore the piece of paper in half and wrote my phone number on it and handed it to her. Hey, race mine, feel free to call any time. I'm retired, so if I don't answer it means I'm either at the Y or on the golf course. So leave a message. I leaned over and kissed her on the corner of her mouth. More adventurous than one on her cheek and a little more modest than on her mouth. Although it was tempting as she had the most sexiest mouth I had ever seen. Till the next time, Zoe, bye. Bye, David. I walked into the lobby. Charles came up to me and handed me an envelope I had given him earlier. This is the money you gave me for the fee. Keep it, Charles. But it's over $700, sir. You earned it, Charles, you keep it. Thank you, sir, and I trust dinner was fine. He had a smile on his face. Very fine, Charles. Very fine indeed. I went to my room, got into bed and had the most wonderful dream. The next day I went to Derek Hart's jewelry store and browsed the estate sale necklaces. I found one that was a delicate silver chain with 1.5 carat blue emerald pendant. 2 weeks later, midweek, I called Zoe at 6 in the evening. This is Zoe. Hi Zoe, this is David. Hello David, good to hear your voice. Are you free this weekend? Yes, I am. What did you have in mind? How would you like to come and spend the weekend? I live on Lake Norman and we can take my boat out for a ride. That sounds great. I'd love to. Okay, I'll text you my address, so why don't you come after work on Friday? Oh, and one more thing. You're not a vegan or a vegetarian by any chance? No, I'm not. Looking forward to seeing you Friday. Bye. I couldn't wait to see her again and I was as nervous as a cat on hot bricks. I asked a personal chef that I had used on occasions if he would come and cook dinner for 2 on Saturday at 7. Fortunately, he was free and I told him something not too heavy and to surprise us. At 6 on Friday, I saw a red BMW coming down my driveway. I walked outside and opened Zoe's door. She got out and we hugged and kissed. On the lips this time, but just lightly. Great to see you, Zoe. You're looking gorgeous as usual. Thanks, David. I took her overnight case and we walked into the foyer. She looked around the large 2-story foyer. What a beautiful house, looks custom. Yes, I had an architect design it. My late wife had a lot of input, so you'll see a lot of feminine touches here and there, except my study. She was told it was off limits. Come on, let's go out on the terrace. We walked through the great room and through the French doors to the terrace that overlooked the lake. The house was on a point, so we had a 180-degree view. Wow, this is gorgeous, David. What a view. Yes, we picked this lot for just the view. I poured us 2 flutes of champagne from the bottle in the ice bucket and handed one to her. We sat down in the patio chairs. I'm sorry you lost your wife. When was that? 5 years ago. She had a sudden stroke that. Most people do not die from a stroke. I think the doctor said she was in the 1% that do. She put her hand over mine and for a second I felt a little tingle as if some static had jumped between us. That must have been tough for you, as I know it was when my dad got killed. Her hand was still over mine. Yes, it was, and to be honest, I almost sold this house as it reminded me of her. But then I thought, no one else should own his house that she put so much into. We sipped our champagne and watched the sun's rays sparkle on the water. I hope you brought your swim wear, as it's supposed to be a nice day tomorrow. Yes, I did. I'm looking forward to it. I didn't say it, but I was also looking forward to seeing her in it for real and not in a photo on a website. You hungry, Zoe? I'm getting there. Well, there's small restaurant a few miles away in Mooresville. It's not much, but they have good food. Zoe drove us to the restaurant and we had a very nice meal with a couple of glasses of wine. At the house, Zoe said she need to change into something less business-like, so I showed her to a guest bedroom. 10 minutes later, she came downstairs wearing a pair of white capris and a light blue blouse. I could see the outline of a white bra underneath. Come. Let's go and sit on the terrace and watch the sun go down. She followed me out and I opened the fridge at the outdoor kitchen. We have wine, beer, soft drinks. They'll take a beer if you don't mind. I handed her an open bottle of Miller Lite. Need a glass? No, it's fine like this. Miller Lite was my dad's favorite beer. I watched as she put her mouth around his neck and take a swig. I found it so erotic. We sat there, not talking but taking in the view of the lake in the fading light. As light faded altogether, I suggested we go inside and maybe watch a movie. She picked through my assortment of DVDs, stopping for a few seconds at 50 Shades of Grey and finally settling on When Harry Met Sally. I see that you paused at the Grey movie, I said, hoping I didn't embarrass her and wanting to gauge her reaction. I've seen it and loved it, but it's not a third date movie, maybe fifth or sixth though. She smiled at me. God, I just melted inside. I was like a stupid boy on his first date. But a fake orgasm is okay, huh? She laughed. Yes, that's harmless enough. We sat on the sofa with just a small distance between, she leaning her head on my shoulder. The movie finished. If it's okay, David, he'll think he'll turn in. I had a busy day in the office setting up this new project. Sure, no problem. You know where the guest room is and there are fresh towels in the bathroom. We stood and she kissed me on my lips and lingered a little longer than when I greeted her earlier. Long enough to say I'm interested, but not long enough to say come to my room later. Good night, Zoe, and I'm really glad you're here. Me too, David, thanks for inviting me. Good night. I watched as she climbed the stairs, the cotton material of the capris tucked a little into the cleft of her bottom. It was a wonderful sight. I sat and finished my glass of bourbon and retired for the night, but not before relieving myself of the sight of her behind climbing the stairs. I was up at dawn and made a pot of coffee, taking a cup out to the terrace watching the fish jump by my boathouse. I heard Zoe come down the stairs. She was wearing a short cotton floral kimono which was not fastened, and it flapped open revealing a white two-piece bathing suit. I stood to greet her. Morning, Zoe, sleep well? Morning, David, I sure did. It must be the tranquility of this place. I had my window open and it was so nice. Yes, it's really peaceful here and you look beautiful this morning. Oh, you're too nice, my hair's still a mess. I ran my fingers through her tousled blonde hair. I love your messy hair. She laughed as she touched my arm. I got her a cup of coffee and we sat and enjoyed the early morning together. I know you told me your dad died, but does your mother live close and do you have any siblings? My mom lives in Savannah and no, I am an only child. How about you? I too was an only child. I have a 28-year-old daughter Anya and a 4-year-old grandson Davy, and my son-in-law's name is Jacob. My daughter is always fussing over me as if I was her son. It's a little too much at times, but I know she loves me. Oh, that's so sweet. Where does Anya live? In Winston-Salem, so it's not far. In fact, they're coming to spend next weekend here. If it's not too forward, would you like to come and spend the weekend again? If you think it will be okay, yes, I'd love to meet them. I would love for you to meet them. You and Anya will get along just fine. You want a cooked breakfast or are croissants and jam okay? Those will be just fine. At 9 I fixed breakfast and we ate at the table on the terrace. After breakfast I changed into a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and we sat enjoying the morning. At noon it was time to get out on the water. Ready for a boat ride, Zoe? Oh yes, I love being on the water. We took some towels and a cooler with a couple of beers and Sprites and walked to the boathouse. I held her hand as I helped her on board, let go of the moorings and fired up the outboard engine. Zoe stood next to me as I motored out into the main body of water. Her hair trailed behind her as I sped across the lake to a secluded cove I often visited. I cut the engine as we entered the cove and the boat settled down in the water and glided to a stop. I dropped the anchor and sat back in the stern seating. Zoe was still standing at the console. She took off the kimono and looked out at the tree line. She was quite stunning. Her body was slim, but she had a nicely rounded behind that I had marveled at the night before but was now only covered by a small bikini bottom. Her small but firm breasts nestled in the cups of her bra top. She looked at me as if to say something but hesitated. David. Yes, Zoe. Would it embarrass you if I sunbathed topless? Good God, no. I thought. No, that's fine, Zoe, we are quite secluded here. She reached behind and unhooked the bra and let it slip off her arms. She dropped it on the console. Her milky white breasts were a perfect A-cup size in my eyes, with small light brown areolae and surprising light red nipples. I could feel an erection rising at the sight of this beautiful woman proudly displaying her body. She went around the console and stretched out on a towel on the foredeck. I have sunscreen if you want, Zoe. From your fair skin it looks as though you don't sunbathe a lot. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, I think I need some protection. I went down into the cabin and grabbed a bottle of SPF 30. I offered it to her and watched as she rubbed the cream on her legs and arms. If she looked, she would have seen the bulge in my shorts as she rubbed lotion all over her breasts. They were so firm they hardly moved. Would you mind doing my back, please? Not at all. She handed me the lotion and caught a quick glimpse of my erection inside my shorts. I rubbed the lotion on her back and around her sides all the way down to her bikini bottoms. She shuddered a little as my hands rubbed around her slender neck. I think you're good to go, Zoe. Thanks, David. You have such a gentle touch. That was an unexpected comment, I thought. She stretched out on her back and closed her eyes. I sat in the stern sipping a beer watching Zoe and thinking how lucky I was to have met her, and even more lucky that she wasn't averse to dating a man old enough to be her father. An hour later, I walked back to the foredeck where she was no laying on her stomach. Zoe, I think we should head back in. Okay. She got up and put her bra and kimono back on and sat in the stern as I piloted the boat back home. I tied up at the boathouse and helped her get off the boat, but as she put her foot on the edge of the dock she slipped and I grabbed her so she would fall and pulled her to me. She looked up at me and I couldn't resist those lips anymore. I kissed her and was excited as she put her arm around my neck. We stood there, our lips locked together until she finally broke free. I've been wanting you to do that since our second date, she said, breathless. No more than I, Zoe, but I wasn't sure you wanted me to. Oh God, yes. Maybe I was too reserved. We walked hand in hand back to the house. We're having dinner at 7, so what would you like to do for the next few hours? I'd really like to take a nap as the sun has made me tired. Could you please wake me at 5? Sure I can. You go right ahead. David. Yes. I really enjoyed today, thank you. She started to climb the stairs. By the way, how formal are we dressing this evening? You can come as you are. Seriously, it's not a black tie dinner. Just dress as casual as you like. They'll probably wear gray slacks and an open neck shirt. While Zoe napped, I called my daughter. Hi honey, it's Dad. Hey Daddy. She still called me Daddy after all these years. How are you doing? I'm just chipper, honey. Wow, Daddy, you sound different. What's up? Well, I am having dinner with a beautiful weekend guest this evening. You're dating someone? What's her name, and tell me all about her. Her name is Zoe and she's an engineer, and I met her in Charlotte and she is gorgeous. Wow, she sounds like a nice lady. When do I get to meet her? Well, she'll be here next weekend so all of you can meet her. There's one more thing I have to tell you about her though. What's that, Daddy? She's 24. There was complete silence on the other end. Anya, you still there? 24, Daddy? She's younger than me. I know, sweetheart, but you have to meet her. I know what you're thinking. What am I thinking? That she's a gold digger, and she's not. I did some digging and she is fairly wealthy, as she and her mother were the beneficiaries of a $4 million life insurance policy when her father was killed in an auto accident. Daddy, I wasn't thinking that at all. I was thinking how a relationship between a 50-year-old man and a 24-year-old woman could last. You know, I'm always trying to look out for you. Anya, I'm old enough to look after myself, so ease up. Please. Okay, Daddy, but you know I love you and care for you. I know, honey, and I love you too. I hung up. Next weekend is going to be interesting, I thought. At 5 o'clock, I went to Zoe's room to wake her. The bedroom door was open and I walked in. She was lay on top of the covers, still in her bikini. I looked at the gentle rise and fall of her breasts, and I got a nice tingly feeling in the pit of my stomach as I remembered the kiss in the boathouse. I gently shook her shoulder. She stirred and rubbed her face. That was a nice dream you just roused me from. Sorry, Zoe, but it's 5 o'clock. Okay, David, it'll be down in half an hour. I need to shower and fix my hair, and I didn't bring a hairdryer. There's on in the bathroom. I left her and went back to the kitchen where Andre, the chef, was getting dinner ready. I'm cooking a nice lobster risotto, Mr. Johnston, as you said, not too heavy. Perfect, Andre. I went to my room on the ground floor, showered and dressed. When I went back to the great room, I saw Zoe on the terrace. She was dressed in the same dress she wore on our second date, the blue sheath dress and stilettos. I took 2 glasses of Chardonnay out to the terrace and handed her one. Wow, I remember that dress, Zoe. You look so beautiful. Thanks, David. But something is missing. What am I missing? I took the box containing the necklace out of my pocket and handed it to her. What's this, David? A beautiful gift for a beautiful woman. She gasped as she opened the box and took out the necklace and laid it in her palm. My goodness, David, this is gorgeous. The sapphire is from Kazakhstan and the necklace is over 120 years old. The blue matches my dress perfectly. This is very strange because as I was driving up her yesterday, I realized I had forgotten my necklace. This is so beautiful, David. Thank you so much. She stood up and put her arms around my neck and kissed me hard on my lips. I put the necklace on her. They're a beautiful gem for a beautiful woman. At that moment, Andre said dinner was ready, so we sat next to each other at the large dining room table. I called my daughter today, and I think you can expect a lot of scrutiny next weekend, so I hope you're up to it. You're wise that? Well, when I told her your age, she was a little shocked to say the least. I'm sure she was. It shocked me a little when I realized I was having feelings for you. I ate a wonderful meal made all the more wonderful by having Zoe sitting next to me. Andre cleared the dishes, and before he left he told us he had left us 2 lime sorbets in the fridge. I retrieved them and we sat on the terrace and enjoyed them. At 9:30 we went and sat on the sofa. My arm was around her shoulders and her head lay on my chest as we enjoyed each other's silence. She looked up at me and smiled. I put my hand to her face, caressing her. I feel like the luckiest man in the world, Zoe. Sitting here with the most beautiful, most gorgeous, smartest young woman in my arms. She put her hand around my neck and pulled my lips to hers. Her tongue flitted along my lips and probed my mouth. I dropped my hand to her breast and squeezed it gently through her dress. She responded by pushing her body against mine. Her hand found my erection in my pants, caressing it, rubbing her fingers along its shaft. Take me to bed, David. I took her hand and led her to my bedroom. We sat on the bed. I have to tell you, Zoe, that when I married my wife, she was only the second woman who had shared my bed, and I haven't had sex in 5 years and am a little nervous. She held my hand in hers. Contrary to what you may think of the lifestyles of young people these days, you will be my second lover. I was involved with a man while I was in engineering school, and he happened to be my 50-year-old teacher. So I'm just as nervous as you, David. She got up and went to the bathroom and closed the door. I got undressed and slipped under the covers. A few minutes later, she came out of the bathroom, turning off the light. The lamp on the bedside table illuminated her as she walked to the bed wearing just her panties. She walked to the bedside table and put down a foil condom pouch. Zoe, I will wear that if you want me to, but I had a vasectomy 20 years ago if pregnancy is what you're concerned about. Yes, that was what I was concerned about, as I'm not on the pill, you don't have to wear it. She walked around the end of the bed. I know I'm repeating myself, Zoe, but you are so beautiful. She slipped under the covers and lay beside me. It may have been modesty on your part, but thanks for leaving your panties on. Why, David? Because I happen to believe that taking a woman's bra and panties off is one of the most erotic acts. My wife used to do it all the time as she knew I loved it. She kicked the covers off us. Be my guest. I got to the bottom of the bed and carefully and slowly pulled her panties, exposing her the top of her mons, sparsely covered in small curls of blonde hair. I pulled a little more, exposing the top of her vulva where her clitoris was just visible. I pulled a little more, showing her fleshy outer labia and thin inner labia. I finally took them off. Zoe was looking at me with bemusement. I love watching you looking at my pussy. It was so erotic. I love looking at your pussy. I wanted to savor every moment, and now I'm going to savor you. She giggled. It was a very sexy giggle, and she cupped her crotch with both hands. I kissed each of her knuckles on the back of one hand. She removed it. I inhaled the musky sweetness of her vagina. I kissed the knuckles on the back of her other hand. She removed it. She opened her legs as I lifted her knees, offering me full access to her. I buried my head between her thighs and pushed my tongues between her lips and tasted the inside of her petals. She gasped and held my head as I explored her clit, which responded to my gentle licks. Oh, David, that feels so good. It's been quite a few years since a man has pleasured me there. I explored more of her cleft. Her vagina was moist with her whitish cream. I lapped it up and probed the opening with my tongue. Her breaths were getting shorter with every flick of my tongue against her now fully exposed clit. It was the largest of the women I'd slept with. I need you inside me, David. Sliding up so my head was resting on the pillow beside her, I guided my penis into her vagina. She inhaled sharply as I penetrated her, the tight entrance yielding to me. I pulled out a little and then back in, just halfway letting her adjust to my girth. She put her legs around my hips and pulled me all the way, her vaginal muscles clamped around my shaft. Oh God, you feel so good inside me. Stay there and let me enjoy the moment. We lay together with my penis buried deep inside her. Then she started to hump me and I returned her urges with my own. We fucked each other for 5 minutes as I squeezed her hard nipples. She was rapidly reaching her orgasm and I was amazed that I had not come yet as she was so tight. She made little short noises from the back of her throat. Not an ugh but more like a huh which matched my thrusts into her. They became more rapid until, oh God, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, came in rapid-fire succession as her orgasm washed through her body. She held me tight with her thighs around my waist, pushing her crotch into mine with every thrust. Then she held me inside her while her orgasm faded. Oh David, you're a wonderful lover. I kissed her all over her face and neck. I started my thrusting again to reach my climax. You haven't come yet. I'm sorry, I was so wrapped up in my own orgasm that I forgot about yours. That's okay, Zoe, I loved watching you get yours. I'm not greedy. Let me do it on top of you. She slid from under me and I turned on my back. She straddled me and guided me into her and started rubbing her cleft back and forth, thrusting me in and out. I reached up and rubbed her nipples between my finger and thumb. She threw her head back, increasing her thrusts. I'm almost there, Zoe. I pushed into her, pulling her down to me and held her as I felt the waves of my orgasm spurt my semen deep into her. I was finally spent and my flaccid penis plopped out of her. She rolled onto her side with her right leg over mine, pushing the cleft of her pussy into my thigh, her arm across my chest. We slept, coming soon.